Morning, students. Today I'll be covering the next topic, which is psychology at work, which will elaborate that there are different fields where psychologists in different areas, in different specializations, they work. Now, psychologists today work in a variety of settings where they can apply psychological principles for teaching and training people to cope effectively with the problems of their lives. So the psychologists who work in different areas, they are specialized in those areas, and because they are specialized in those areas, they they start working and they start helping people who have different problems in their lives, as they're trained to do that. So there are different branches, there are different areas where psychologists work. The elaboration, the psychologist at work, they comprises of clinical psychologist, counseling psychologist, community psychologist, school psychologist, and organizational psychologist. Now we will move on to the first part, which is the clinical psychologist. Clinical psychologists, they are specialized in helping clients with behavioral problems by providing therapy for various mental disorders and in cases of anxiety or fear, or because of the stresses that they have at home or at work. So basically the first the first thing that they work is, they help the clients who are having different behavioral problems. They provide therapies. Clinical psychologists, they provide therapies to the clients who have these kinds of problems that we just talked about. For example, if a person have a fear or an anxiety or stress at home or at work, so they provide the therapeutic interventions to such clients. They work as either private practitioners or at hospitals, mental institutions, or social agencies. Clinical psychologist is a specialization who once they are appointed, they work either as private practitioners. You can open your own institutions, you can open up your own private clinics, and you can start working as private practitioner. They work in mental institutions or different social agencies around. Clinical psychologists, they conduct interviews. Interviews helps them to see what kind of problem, what severity of problem does the client has. They do administer psychological test to, again, test psychological tests are also conducted to see the severity of the problem, to interpret what kind of problem do they have, and to have a inter to have a and have a kind of insight towards the client, what kind of problems and why the problem have aroused. They diagnose clients problems, and they use psychological methods for the treatment and rehabilitation. In class 12th, there's one chapter which covers the psychological methods, which are there, which psychologists they use, so that different psychological disorders can be resolved and can be lowered down. Now this is about clinical psychologists. The next area is the counseling psychologist. Now counseling psychologist, as the word say, the psychologists, they counsel their clients in different areas. Um, as compared to clinical psychologist, counseling psychologist, they don't deal only with the patients with behavioral problems, but they also counsel the clients who have motivational or emotional problems. Because their main emphasis is on motivational and emotional problems, therefore counseling psychologists don't have clients which are serious as compared to the clinical psychologist. They do help in vocational rehabilitation programs, which where in counseling psychologist, they help the clients who can do something better in vocational courses rather than going for the proper academics. They help clients in professional choices. Therefore, there are different kinds of aptitude test, or different kinds of interest test, which the counseling psychologist used to have an insight who the client is, and what choices or what interest or what abilities does the child carries. They're helping clients in adjusting to new and difficult situations in life. Sometimes what happens is, because we enter into new life, we enter into difficult situations in our life, and therefore, because of such factors, we are not able to control over those or adjust ourselves to those conditions in life. So counseling psychologist help such clients in adjusting to the new and difficult situations in life as well. Counseling psychologists, they work in agencies such as mental health centers, hospitals, schools, colleges, and universities. There are universities, there are colleges, there are hospitals. Not only this, even CBSE has made it mandatory that every school affiliated to CBSE need to have a counseling psychologist. So they are there in every area, in every field of life. The next branch that we'll talk about is the community psychologist. Now community psychologist is a problem related to community. As the word says, community. The psychologists, they work in the community mental health. They work for mental health agencies, private organizations, and state governments. They work at the rural areas, they work at the urban areas as well. In rural areas, they work to establish mental health center. For example, there are areas which is especially the rural areas where there are no mental health in centers. So the community psychologists, they try to establish such mental health in centers in rural areas, so that people can go and have their treatment, or they can go and help themselves by visiting the mental health and visiting the psychologist who can help them to lower down their problems. Urban areas, though, there would be established mental health centers, but their main emphasis is to design a rehabilitation program. Nowadays, we see in where the youngsters, they are more inclined towards having a drug, which has become a habit in most of the areas in India. So community psychologists, they work with special populations such as elderly or physically or mentally challenged people as well. This is about community psychologists. The rest I will cover in the next lecture. Thank you very much.